Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving right into a silent existential struggle for technological dominance that is playing out right now. It's a race that could literally render global financial encryption completely obsolete. We call this the quantum Cold War, and the finish line is a theoretical moment known as Q-Day. So if you've ever wondered just how secure your bank account, your digital identity, or even the global economy truly is against next-generation technology, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Let's just take a quick look at our roadmap. We'll be hitting the threat of Q-Day, the geopolitical quantum race, breaking the mathematical backbone, trillion-dollar financial risks, and finally, diffusing the quantum bomb. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the threat of Q-Day, the invisible race.
We absolutely have to begin with an active threat that's looming over trillions of dollars in daily transactions right now. To understand why this matters today, we need to talk about a concept called harvest now, decrypt later. Think of this like a buried time capsule of the world's most sensitive secrets, just waiting for the right shovel to dig it up. Adversaries are actively intercepting and archiving encrypted data transmitted over public networks right now. Everything from financial transactions to highly sensitive intellectual property. Sure, they can't read it today, but they're patiently waiting for quantum hardware to catch up.
Which actually brings us to a pretty chilling question. Is your data already stolen? For the financial sector, this translates to a very real temporal risk. Any archived data with a shelf life of 10 years or more, it's already compromised. If a bank's internal communications or your customer identity data are copied today, they can be retroactively exposed the exact moment a relevant quantum computer turns on. Moving to Section 2, the geopolitical quantum race, a tale of two fronts. Now, what's really fascinating here is the massive structural contrast in how nations are trying to build a quantum superpower. On one side, you have China's 15th five-year plan. This is a highly centralized, state-led mobilization with over $15 billion in announced investments, anchored by a massive Hefei National Laboratory campus that's literally designed for rapid lab-to-fab commercialization. On the flip side, the United States is countering through the National Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act, or NQIRA. Their approach relies heavily on a commercial pipeline, leveraging the established might of Silicon Valley tech giants, think Google and IBM, to drive operational deployment. But, hardware is really just half the battle, because there are only about 2,000, yes, just 2,000 qualified error correction professionals in the entire world. We're seeing a fierce human capital war to recruit the talent needed to actually build these machines. Take China's K-Visa program, introduced in late 2025. It targets this exact scarcity with uncapped allocations and zero employer sponsorship requirements. It is a brilliant strategic initiative explicitly designed to attract the top quantum minds from global laboratories right when they're needed most.
Section 3, breaking the mathematical backbone, from theory to reality.
Okay, let's talk science, because the engineering timeline is accelerating incredibly fast. A landmark breakthrough from Caltech and the startup Oratomic showed that by using neutral atom arrays and ultra-efficient error correction, the physical qubit requirements dropped by 2 full orders of magnitude. We used to think we needed millions of qubits to break encryption. Now, we might only need 10,000 to 20,000. That is a total game changer. And the math keeping cybersecurity experts awake at night? That would be Shor's algorithm. It provides the exact mathematical shortcut necessary to shatter standard 2048-bit RSA encryption, which, by the way, is the very lock securing modern internet traffic. What takes a classical supercomputer thousands of years to calculate, a quantum computer running this equation could unravel in a fraction of the time. We're talking days. So the mathematical backbone of the digital economy is fundamentally compromised.
On to Section 4, trillion-dollar financial risks, the economic stakes.
So if the encryption protecting our money breaks, what actually happens? Well, let's look at decentralized finance first. The cryptocurrency market faces a really unique, rigid dilemma. Roughly a quarter of all Bitcoin is immediately exposed to a quantum strike. Why? Because the legacy public keys for these older addresses have already been broadcast. They're fully visible on the public blockchain. They are basically sitting ducks for the first fully operational, cryptographically relevant quantum computer. But traditional, centralized finance? It's equally, if not more, vulnerable. To put this into perspective, a comprehensive Citi report mapped out the systemic risk and estimated that up to $3.3 trillion in indirect GDP is at risk from a quantum strike on just one top 5 U.S. bank's access to the FedWire system. The contagion effect of disrupted interbank messaging and compromised digital identities would be catastrophic, likely triggering a massive economic recession. And this whole situation creates what experts are calling the quantum divide. As massive G7 banks upgrade their security to these new post-quantum standards, smaller regional banks or institutions in emerging markets that fail to keep up risk being cut off from global trade overnight. They simply won't be trusted on the network anymore. This fragmentation of trust is a systemic contagion almost as damaging as a direct cyber attack itself.
Finally, Section 5, Diffusing the Quantum Bomb, the Infrastructure Reengineering.
Thankfully, we're not just standing still waiting for it to happen. The Bank for International Settlements led Project LEAP to prove we can transition to post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. But there's a catch. Look at the jump in data size. Moving from the old RSA standard to a quantum-resistant one like MLDSA causes signature sizes to absolutely explode, from roughly 256 bytes to over 2,400 bytes. This causes what we call packet bloat, physically slowing down banking servers, causing CPU spikes, and requiring massive, expensive hardware upgrades just to keep the world's money moving at its current speed.
So alongside those algorithmic upgrades, major banks are bringing in physics-based security called quantum key distribution, or QKD. Because you literally cannot clone or observe quantum data without physically altering it, QKD allows for unbreakable key exchanges governed by the laws of physics itself. We're already seeing institutions like JP Chase and HSBC deploying this tech over 100-kilometer networks to heavily protect high-value, real-time interbank transfers. It's an incredible defense-in-depth strategy.
In regulators, they are taking this incredibly seriously. They've replaced all ambiguity with a very strict ticking clock. The U.S. National Security Agency, for example, dictates that by 2027, all new tech acquisitions must be compliant. By 2035, the entire system must be quantum resistant. They are shifting crypto agility from a nice-to-have best practice into an absolute binding legal mandate. So what's the ultimate takeaway from this explainer? It's simply this. The winner of this quantum Cold War won't just be whoever manages to build a quantum computer first. No, the real winner will be the entity that secures its infrastructure first. The clock is ticking, the hardware is accelerating, and remember, the data is already being harvested. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Will your institution, your data, and your economy be ready when Q-Day arrives? Thanks for joining me today.
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, so why not invest in this channel? Click like and subscribe for more.